His hero is Muhammad Ali. He was also born in the year of the cockerel. But let's hope he's not a chicken in the ring. Am I right? So, we're going to start making some noise. Let's get a slow clap going first of all. Let's get a slow clap. Speed it up. Speed it up. Speed it up. In the red corner, weighing 68 kilograms, standing at 176 centimeters. Make some noise for John the Brick Wood! His voice bricks. Give him a big cheer, the Brick! Here he's trying to redress the housing crisis. Instead of being able to buy one, you can now build one with foam bricks. You all done, John? Make some more noise for John the Brick Woods! So his chess I can't even speak. ELO is 1,100. He has lost 2 matches so far, so let's see how he goes tonight. Give it up one more time for John the Brick Woods! All right, well, who's joining him in the ring? It's time to find out. Next up is actually a first-time chess boxer. Ooh, first time out. He is exploding out of Brentwood for his first chess boxing bout. Marc Essex Bomb Sidwell is also a wine model. That deserves another woo, I think. A wine model? How does that work? He is currently the 2018, or was the 2018 face of Riesling for Renegade Wine in Bethnal Green. Very fancy, very fancy. And he says, just like him, he's slightly dry with hints of apricots, poetry, lime and jasmine. I'm not sure what to expect with this guy. He's also worked for City AM, The New Statesman, The Telegraph, and is currently deputy editor of the new monthly magazine of ideas called Smith. Sounds riveting, doesn't it? Sounds really riveting. So let's make some noise. In the blue corner, weighing 68 kilograms, standing at 173 centimeters. Make some noise for Marc Essex Bomb Sidwell! Magic might eat your heart out. Here comes the Essex Bomb. Get some camera time. Get some camera time, Essex Bomb. Get some camera time. Camera needs you. Okay, so he's never done a chess boxing fight before, but his chess ELO is 1,200. This is going to be an interesting fight. Are you ready? Yes! Give it up for some chess boxing!
Well, guys, we're about to start the first bout of the evening. John the Brick Wood versus Marc the Essex Bomb Sidwell. Predictions, Chris?
The Essex Bomb, this is the first time out I've seen him, so we'll see how we go to the chess. They're two evenly matched, if somewhat novice chess players. They've been working hard on their game, so we'll see if they both picked up a few tips and tricks since we last saw them out. John, of course, looking for his first victory.
Yeah, and I think for those who haven't seen John fight before, he's 62. He's a very pleasant-looking man, you know, with his hod of foam bricks. But he's a mean fighter. Like he packs a literal punch.
If I was in that shape at 63, well, frankly, if I was in that shape at 43, I would be very happy. 43, incidentally, the age of the Essex Bomb.
Absolutely wonderful segue, Chris. Like really sort of top quality information filtering through there.
Thank you, Matt. I believe that's over 100 years in the ring, if I've done my maths right.
You know what? I think your maths is correct.
And we're off on the chess.
And we begin with a London system here, very appropriate for those who don't know which city we're in. It's London, goodness me. Okay, knight on c6, an interesting setup for black here. Black has to find the right way to break down white's very, very solid pawn structure. How's he going to do it, Chris?
Well, at this stage, it's just about getting your pieces out, I would say, man. For now, you just want to be developing in a quite sensible manner, and then decide on your plan after maybe 7 or 8 moves the stage you're at now.
So Marc the Essex Bomb, a really classy setup, really classy stuff. Putting his light squared bishop on a square to target the black king side, but black's castle queen side, good lord. So what will happen now is that black may throw his pieces down white's king side, whereas white can try to do the same up black's queen side. This could be a very, very exciting match, Chris.
When you say castled, what was... Oh, yeah, there's another bit of castling going on there, Matt. Explain what happened.
So castling is a special move in chess whereby the king and rook can swap round. The king, which normally only moves 1 square in each direction, can in fact move 2 on this time only. It truly is a rich and fascinating sport we find ourselves in, don't we?
Well said, Matt, well said. And when one castles it, the idea is that you want to get your king tucked away in the corner, keep it nice and safe. Oh, but there's a pawn storm going on already.
So the bishop's attacked. It's close to being trapped. Will Marc the Essex Bomb Sidwell? He's found a way out. The bishop is safe on e5. He's no slouch, is the Essex Bomb. He is still well and truly in this.
This game is certainly exploding into life, Matt.
Oh, and he swapped up a knight for a bishop.
That's the first exchange of the game. I think the first piece has dropped off the board.
Oh, and the knight has landed with menacing intent on the e5 square. It's hovering, it's attacking the bishop on d7, it's potentially attacking the pawn on f7, and if white can swing his pieces over to the queen side, he might just build up a bit of head of steam and aim for checkmate.
It's a strong square for the knight. I believe they say knights on the rim are dim. This is most certainly not on the rim, but planted there in the centre of black's position.
Yeah, I think black has a little bit of a disadvantage here. Okay, so he's moved his knight to h5, where it's being attacked by the queen. The queen can take the knight for 3, but will Marc spot it? The queen can just move forward diagonally, capture the knight, and black would be as good as lost at that point. But white has to spot it, and under the glare of the lights, with all of your sort of callous... Oh, he's missed it! He's missed it! The boos rain out among the arena. Thankfully they can't hear because they would be ashamed later. And he's moved it back. What a missed opportunity. It's an own goal. He's basically missed an own goal. And that's the bell. Oh my word. The drama here in Tufnell Park.
What a moment to leave it down there, Matt. A window of opportunity there was missed by Marc. First time under the lights. That knight just there hanging dim on the rim, as I said.
You were quite right. The knight was very dim. So dim that it could have fallen off its earth entirely. But thankfully, White missed it, and then Black, realising his mistake, moved the knight away again.
How would you assess the position despite that mistake at the end of the round?
I think that White has a decent positional advantage. He doesn't have a dark squared bishop, which can be a little bit of an issue. I think his pieces are more purposeful. I can see a queenside attack happening more readily than a kingside attack, but in a position where one side has two bishops and the other doesn't, it can be very, very double-edged. So there's a hell of a lot to play for.
So the two bishops can be an advantage in a certain position. Because they say that a bishop and a knight are roughly equivalent, but they're two bishops together when your opponent doesn't have one, in quite an open position as that one is, can be a slight advantage. And White is in possession of that.
But if White can lock up the position and use his dominance on the light squares to his advantage, then he might be strategically better. There's a lot to play for. But now there's the boxing.
Exactly. We first have 2 rounds of fistic action to come before we return to the board. And as I said, we haven't seen the Essex bomb before. We have seen John the Brick Wood. He gave a good account of himself last time out in the ring. But you are giving away 20 years.
20 years, but John has a little bit of height and is more experienced.
The Essex bomber, a southpaw. Oh, John taking it to the younger man from the off there.
Oh, some really
Raining
early blows.
I'm not sure the Essex bomb was expecting this. Some windmilling back, but he's really looking to try and regain his composure here, whereas John is looking quite classical there, taking the centre of the ring, pumping out the jab, the foundation of boxing. Oh, and a raw big right there as well.
It's a much more frantic start than one is normally used to, particularly for people who are not that experienced at chess boxing.
Usually you try and feel your way into the bout, you know, not throw too many power shots, whereas John is just coming out, somewhat ironically given his opponent, raining bombs. In particular, with that heavy right there that he's landed a couple of times.
So Marc Sidwell's special ability is extreme anger. We saw a little flurry of it at the beginning, but he seems slightly more composed now.
I think it was more extreme shock. I mean, if you were in the ring with a 62-year-old, 63-year-old now, you wouldn't be expecting to be getting quite such a pounding. You can see the look of anger on his face, though. The right landed again. John making his height advantage really count there. You can see the extra few inches he has on his reach is making it a lot easier to land those straight punches. It's the jab and the straight right.
Only 30 seconds left. If you know the fight is coming to an end, what are you trying to do? Coming towards the end of the bout, what exactly do you want to do to put your opponent off?
I mean, at the end of the round, any boxing round, what you'd want to... you would be wanting to do what John is doing here. Land a couple of blows, to impress the judges. It's often a way people refer to stealing around if you land well at the end. People tend to remember that more. And another right lands there.
So
good
it
shot.
looks as if John has had the better of this one by the looks of things. He's landed more purposeful punches than what you think.
Absolutely, and also given you have the transition to chess, then if you can daze your opponent as they're going into that, then really that is the danger moment. As you're trying to reset, the adrenaline is still coursing through your veins, and you suddenly have to focus and be objective and pick up where you left off on the chess, which is not easy to do if your heads are spinning.
So something that we've been discussing recently is the chess concept of, the chess boxing concept of the Jaffa. In cricket, it's described as an unplayable ball, something that takes the opponent by surprise and can lead to a wicket. In chess boxing, we use the old Cockney rhyming slang Jaffa cake mistake to describe the possibility that when you go back into the ring, you're discombobulated and you make a horrible move first time round because it takes a bit of time to adjust.
We saw some mutual Jaffa cakes in that first round. John leaving his knight hanging, and then his opponent just failing to chop it off as he could do. So, mutual Jaffa cakes.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think the issue you have when you're an inexperienced player is that sometimes things don't come intuitively, and an opportunity that you're not expecting will pass you by. I think these guys with a little bit more experience on the board and in the ring would see a move like that, for black not play it, and for white just spot that the queen can take it in one go. But these guys are both still relatively new to this, so there may be more mistakes to come.
We saw, in the relative inexperience, we saw, and despite that mistake, we did see some excellent play, I thought, in that first. I mean, as you point out, some classical opening play from Marc there.
Yeah, very. The London system is a very solid opening that works at all levels. He went for the sort of typical structure, albeit with the bishop on d3 rather than e2. And we're back. Okay, so, in case you don't remember, Black had the opportunity to try and swing his knight in. He blundered his knight, but White didn't spot it. So we're back to square one. Things are relatively even, and now Black has put his rook behind the g-pawn. He's going to try and throw his pawns down. Oh my word, h4! We've already had a very, very early mistake. Why is that such a bad move, Chris? And he...
I mean, I would not be moving my pawns in front of my king. Oh, that's an illegal move. Take it back.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness me. Oh, dear, dear, dear. His brain has been frazzled by the early flurry of punches by John the Brickwood. One of the most powerful... one of those powerful pensioners you'll ever come across, and now Black is solely creating an advantage for himself. He's swinging his pieces onto the king's side. He's got a rook, he's got a knight, his queen might come into play. I think that White is in a bit of trouble here.
He's exposed himself. He really has exposed himself and left his king wide open there by moving the pawns that were meant to be protecting it, and now John is just piling into his position.
Yeah, White has to be very careful. Oh no! Oh no, now that knight is on pre. The rook can just take it. The rook can just take the knight for free. It's another horrendous blunder. And he's done it! He's done it! What a turnaround! What a turnaround! Black was on the figurative ropes, and now he's a piece of the pawn up. He's got a massive attack. He's doing better in the boxing. Black very, very much with the initiative here.
Yeah, but, I mean, this could end in this round if there are any further mistakes from Marc.
Yeah, White is in a serious, serious spot of bother here. Knight to e5 is a good idea, though. He's attacking the rook, and the rook, if it moves, will leave the knight under threat. That's actually a very, very useful plan by White. If you can create threats of your own, then... Oh, OK, so the rook has gone to g5. It's protecting the knight. What White needs to look at now is the possibility of playing a move like f4. Then, if the rook were to move, then the knight would drop. But he can't play f4 in this position, can he, Chris?
It's just too exposing. It's far too exposing. And then the rook would...
He's done it, though!
And then the rook is just going to come in, take that pawn on g3 with check, and it's going to be even more open. It could be over this round.
Oh, it's happened. This is an absolute bloodbath, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted you enjoyed that. The king has moved to h2. White is not lost yet, but the issue with chess is, unlike tennis or football, if you go material down, you don't simply reset, you have that disadvantage for the rest of the game. However, Black's knight is being attacked, and he's missed it! The knight is on pre. If the queen catches the knight, then actually White might get it! He's done it!
He has taken it!
And that's the bell! Oh my word.
Material balance semi-restored at the end of the game, of the round there. Really topsy-turvy round there. We thought White was cooked, and then suddenly a little chink there for him at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think quite a big chink, actually, in so much that that knight, not only is it extra material that he's won, that was a key attacking resource for Black. I think if he moved his knight back, then he would be clearly winning and would potentially just clear up the win the following round. As it stands now, I think it's got a bit more work to do. I think Black is clearly better, but there's a lot left in it, and if Marc Sidwell can get an advantage in the boxing, compel some more mistakes, or maybe even get a knockout punch, then, you know, things will be completely different.
That king, though, is horribly exposed. Of course, it has to be hunted down, but it's the equivalent of leaving your head wide open for a wild swinging hook to land there. It's just asking for it, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. I think if Black can swing his pieces onto that side of the board, the queen in particular, which has the possibility of really combining quite nicely with the rook, then White will be in a lot of trouble. But given the fact these guys are not experienced players, the boxing is an additional factor. There's a lot to play for.
Marc, with a lot to do in this boxing round, he's really going to have to come out strong, given what's going on with the chess. But it's probably back into the same pattern as the first round. John's just pumping out the jab, and another classy right lands there from John.
Yeah, slightly less frantic, though. It seems that both sides have kind of settled slightly, and it seems a little bit more positional, a bit more tactical.
Yeah, I think they've established the pattern in the first round. I think Marc knows that he's going to have to try and work his way in into short term. But John again, just driving his opponent back. This really is very impressive when you're giving away 20 years in age.
That was a lovely little shimmy there by John the Brickwood. 62 years old, lest we forget. A really quite remarkable man.
It's quite classical boxing here as well. He's doing those straight punches. Just what you should be doing as the taller fighter. Just keep your opponent at bay. Keep the short man off of you. Control it from the centre of the ring. That's exactly what he's been doing.
Well, this is a man that presumably remembers the 70s extremely clearly, and therefore will naturally find himself in a classical mode, something to aspire to. But no, he's doing well. He's doing well. But it doesn't seem like one side is so clearly better that would override the chess, right?
True, but I think given the chess situation, big right hand there again from John. So if you're Marc, really, you want to be forcing the pace in, not the other way around. Right to the body, jab again. The Essex bomb, nods in appreciation. Certainly you can't fault him for determination. That look on his face.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is a sight to behold. And on his first fight as well, that extreme anger seeping through with every glancing look, every stare, every gaze. But he's on the back foot here, isn't he?
It looks like he's going to have to take his chance in the chess, definitely. And he, as you don't see, he's working out. The bell goes. Marc sees his way through the round, but again, he was very much on the receiving end there. He'll have to hope that the momentum that he was starting to swing his way on the chess stays with him at the resumption of the round.
Yeah, I think if John, for instance, blunders that crucial h4 pawn, which is, it's kind of holding his rook on g3. It has the opportunity to push to h3 later in the game. But it's exactly the sort of thing that a less experienced player might not see as such a big advantage. If he ends up missing the opportunity to utilise that, then White could get back in the game. The other thing as well is you have to have several pieces to create an attack. Currently, Black only really has the rook on g3, so he's going to have to think strategically, and that's not easy to do when you've had a number of punches to the face.
Exactly, there's no immediate knockout blow, as it were. If one had more time to think about it, then what you would do is simply develop your pieces, understanding that exposed king isn't going to find sanctuary anytime soon, but to play so calmly in these circumstances.
Here we go. The next round, I think it's going to be a crucial one.
Either the attack is going to find its way home, or we might see some pieces exchanged, in which case the Essex bomb has a chance to take things into the deeper rounds.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the most crucial bout of the match, possibly in either the chess or the boxing. It feels like one where one side can really take a big initiative that is going to define everything else that we see. Who's your money on, Chris?
It has to be on John with the position, but as you say,
and we're back. He's got his hand. He's out. Rook takes e3. Goodness me. So the rook is no longer on the G file, but material is material, and the more pawns and pieces you can pick up, the easier it'll be to win. But what would you want to be doing here if you're Black, Chris? What's your strategy?
So White has that very exposed king, that rash push that he made in the last round. If I was Black, first of all, I would be saving my queen, I think.
That knight is attacking that queen with ludicrous intent. It's not a subtle move, but after the boxing, who knows? And he's found it! He's moved this queen to d6, eyeing up that f4 pawn, which is now going to become a target. The issue that John has is that the h4 pawn is now very weak. Given that the material has swung back towards near equality, if the h-pawn drops, he's played c4 here, opening up the position, which is fine. White needs to attack the Black king here, otherwise he's just going to get checkmated. I think c4 is a useful move. The problem is that you're also opening up some weaknesses on the dark square. And he's captured the bishop on d3. No matter how good a strategic move, if you lose material, you lose material. And he's taken the pawn on d5. Now, if the rook goes down one square, it's check. The king is starting to run out of squares, and then the queen can capture the d5 pawn and create a checkmating attack. And if it's checkmate, the game is over. No matter what happens, I'll start that again. No matter what happens in the boxing, the game is over, and he's done it! He's playing rook to d2 check. The king is in a lot of trouble here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, really, there's only a couple of squares it can go to, and that queen is going to come into the attack, as you say. It could be, again, it could be...
Oh! King h1. So now, if the queen takes d5 check, he's going to have to block it on f3. But I think the tide is turning. h3. Oh, I'm not sure that was strictly necessary. I think if the queen takes it, it's still covering f3, and that is a lost pawn. But black still with a clear advantage here, but he can't rest on his laurels. He has to get his pieces out. He could play moves like bishop e8, pinning the knight to the queen, and letting the rook go down the d file. He absolutely can play queen takes d5 check, and then take the pawn on d4. And either he's going to win all the pawns, or he's going to checkmate him.
Yeah, checkmate has to be the objective here. And again, he can just take that pawn with check, and then there's only the blocking move with either the queen or the knight. Oh, he's taken the wrong pawn! He's left his queen!
A horrendous move by black. The queen can just be taken. This is going to change the game. If the rook takes the queen, black was winning, and he'll then be losing. But he has to spot it. What is his frazzled, discombobulated brain going to tell him to do? Will he see it? And that's the bell! And that's the bell!
My word, man, my word. He had it there for the taking.
It was clearly winning for black. Black had the win in his sights. Queen takes d5. He would have had so much material. He could have taken on d4. After that, he could have moved his bishop onto c6. All his pieces were rushing in, and he's blundered a queen for nothing. White still has to spot it, but literally, if he spots that, that is game over.
Oh, well, we've said that about 3 or 4 times, it feels, and yet just when someone's been on the cusp, they've managed to blunder it. I mean, that is shocking. At the end of a round as well, at the beginning of a round, I could understand that when you're feeling a little bit frazzled. But at that point, when you've had a couple of minutes to really reset yourself, he played an excellent round up to that point. You know, he took the piece that was on offer. He didn't get flustered by that c4 push opening up a line. So he worked his queen into the game. Surely he was going to see queen takes that pawn with check. And he just had a brain fade and took the wrong pawn.
Yeah, I mean, c4 was a good strategic idea. Unfortunately, it just lost a bishop, but blundering your queen is a very, very critical mistake. I don't know. They're still playing it, but I feel that might be one blunder too much.
Yeah, that much material. So now really John is going to have to try and press home that advantage. Why I assume he recognises that his queen is on pre when they come back to chess. So he is going to have to come out and try and land a few more of those heavy right hands.
I mean, it was a good time for the bell to go. It would be very, very easy for White to look at a position, just see that checkmate was being threatened on h2, and then panic, try and stop the checkmate but not take the queen. But I think the Essex bomb would do well to get a few punches in here.
I mean, he wants to stay out of trouble. Again, but really all he needs to do now is make it through this round. If I was Marc, what I would be doing was being very, very mobile, staying out of range, and letting John chase you, but he's taking the fight to John. I'm not sure it's the wisest move. Certainly not with those right hands that John is now throwing with abandon.
Ooh. Good block there by the Essex bomb. But I mean, John, very, very impressive in the boxing, very, very composed, just kind of diligently sticking to his task, just unflustered and impressive.
Well, unflustered, but then how do you go through this round knowing that your queen is about to be chopped off as soon as you go back to the chess? Hard to put that to one side.
Yeah, and the other thing to consider, of course, is time is a critical factor as well. Both sides have got about a minute and a half left on the clock in the chess, but some people panic on it all.
Another right there landed on the chin.
Some people panic in time trouble in ways that others don't, with both of these guys being relatively inexperienced. It's a bit of an unknown quantity. One of them may just let their clock run out, and if that happens, it's game over.
Yeah, clock handling, vital, but At this point, it's not what they're thinking about. It's as we get to the end of the third boxing round. You can see John is starting to tire a little bit, as one would if he was 63.
And that's the ball.
Yeah, John's certainly looking a little bit like he's feeling the pace towards the end of that round. And I think you can see in his eyes that he knows what's going to be coming in the next chess round. And it's not going to be pleasant.
No, I think it's going to be very difficult for John to play his best chess in this scenario. I think if the rook takes the queen, then it's game over. He had a bit of additional material beforehand, so potentially some play in it, given the time situation and given the unique circumstances of chess boxing. But fundamentally, it's a big blunder and will probably decide the game.
Yeah, the queen easily the most powerful piece on the board. If you lose that between two players of even reasonable strength, then that should be decisive.
Yeah, I mean, queen takes f4 is... I really feel for Black in that situation. He had done all the right things. He picked up an additional pawn on e3, which was useful as a strategic concept. His opponent blundered a bishop on d3, and he took that. He just needed to get his queen to a slightly safer square, and the game was probably his.
Yeah, it really was a bad move. I mean, let's call a chess spade a spade, as it were. That's an outright blunder.
I mean, I like John a lot. I don't want to disparage much that he's saying, but I think you're right. I think pure objectivity has to feature here, and yes, it is comfortably the worst move we've seen all evening. Whether it is that, whether that's the case by the end of the evening, we will see.
I think there are certainly a lot more blunders and topsy-turvy games to come. But of course, we're assuming that White, his opponent, is going to actually see that. We have had a round of boxing in the interim.
Yeah, and John, as always, got some useful punches in. It's going to be difficult for... And that's the bell. And we're back. So, if White sees rook takes f4, winning a queen for nothing, that's game over. And he's seen it!
But what about the time? What about the time, Matt? They both don't have much left. You can see 1 minute 10 we're coming up to for John Wood. And barely that before...
Bishop to d6, that's a good move. That's a great last roll of the dice here. Now if the rook moves, the rook can go to h2 with check, and maybe, just maybe, you can build up a little bit of an attack.
Yeah, that king is still exposed. Even if he's lost his queen, then the king is still pretty open to attack from Black.
I don't know. I'm not sure about e5. I think knight takes f5 now. The position is starting to get a little bit dicey for Black. He doesn't have enough pieces in the game. He really needs to marshal his remaining forces, throw all his men towards the king, and just hope against hope that White makes a catastrophic error. But time is a critical factor. No matter how good your position, if you have no time left, it's game over. Oh, he's played h2. The pawn is a move away from becoming a queen. Is that a realistic consideration, Chris?
I think it's unlikely to happen at this point. However, we're down to the last 30.
What a
now it's going to happen.
Move. What a horrendous move by White. He can just take it. He can just take the rook. Oh, what an absolute calamity. What a horrendous display of amateurishness. His brain frazzled by the lights, by your condemnation and your jeers, and he's done it! And he's done it! And it's swung back round! What a glorious game this is! And now, oh no, the rook was better placed on d2. You need to bring your pieces in. You need to bring your pieces in, Black. But big time advantage. He's got 20-odd seconds left. 22, 21, 20. Numbers, ladies and gentlemen, all getting lower and lower. And the rook is not doing anything on c3. Not sure what the pawn's doing either. But White's got less time. White's got so much less time. 10 seconds. He has to wait to the boxing. He has to get to the boxing, otherwise it's game over. He's going to run. And the rook's on free. Oh, my word. Wow. You can take it.
I mean, just move at this point. Just move.
It's checking. Take it. Just take it. 2 seconds. 1 second. Is that time? It's time. Black wins. Black wins on time. Oh, my word.
Black wins on time in a frankly horrendous position. But at that point, it's just about shoving the pieces as quick as you can. Stick them anywhere.
What an awful round of chess. Just Just dreadful. Just utterly, utterly dreadful. There was no teachable moment there. Everything was calamity after calamity. But John the Brickwood prevailed for his first ever win on his third time of trying, and I think the balance of play, it was well deserved.
Let's bring it together, guys. Let's announce our winner. I think you know who it is. On the chest, due to time running out, John the Brickwood! Let's make some noise for both our fighters. When you get a second, guys. So have a couple of words. So John, let's start with you. How are you? How are you feeling about this? Is this your first win?
Yeah, it's the first win, yeah.
Oh, his first win! And I was getting really tight on the chest there. How did you keep your cool?
Well, I wasn't keeping my cool, but I recognised that Marc's just as shit as me at chess. So it was about the time in the end, and I usually run out of time, but Marc ran out of time.
Oh, let's begin to you, Marc. Give it up one more time, a chess boxing virgin for the night. How did it feel? How did you find it?
It was amazing, amazing. It's so much fun. And this crowd is fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So let's give it up one more time for both our fighters of your first bout. Oh, that was exciting. It just goes to show you never know what can happen.